Wonderful. So before I continue, I would just like to acknowledge and pay respects to our First Nations peoples, past, present, and emerging. Traditional owners have cared for this country upon which we work and meet for over 60,000 years, its lands, oceans, wildlife, rivers, and trees. We endorse the Uluru Statement and acknowledge that this land has never been ceded. For those of you that don't know much about Vets for Climate Action, we represent concerned vets, vet nurses, practices, and industry partners across Australia who want climate action. We work to inspire, educate, and promote sustainability both within the veterinary profession and to the wider community. We've just launched our brand new membership program where you can choose from four flexible tiers. And our membership program enables you to make tangible environmental impacts. Every membership tier includes the planting of native trees, so your commitment directly supports habitat restoration and climate action. You can join today and connect with other veterinary professionals passionate about protecting animal health through climate action and be part of a movement driving real change. I will pop a link to our membership program in the chat as well. And at Vets for Climate Action, we are the voice for all Australian animals, and we invite you to become a champion in your community to strengthen that voice. Just a little bit about Lottie tonight. Lottie is an award-winning sustainability advocate, educator, author, and founder of Banish, a platform dedicated to empowering Australians with the knowledge and tools to live more sustainably. Since launching Banish in 2018, Lottie has helped millions of Australians make more informed choices through education first initiatives, including corporate workshops, community programs, and her pioneering Banish Recycling and Diversion BRAD program, which successfully diverted over 1 million pieces of plastic waste from landfill in 2024 alone. Recognised for her impact, Lottie was named New South Wales Young Australian of the Year in 2023 and has been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 for her contributions to sustainability and entrepreneurship. Lottie has also delivered a TED Talk, The Power of Community in Fighting Climate Change, further cementing her role as a thought leader in the environmental space. Thank you, Lottie. Over to you.
No, thank you so much, Claire. I'm really excited to be here tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Perfect. Great. Is that all good, Claire?
Yes, I can see. Yep.
Yeah, amazing. Great. So I too would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians. I'm currently coming to you from the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I also pay my respects to those elders past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Now, as Claire very kindly mentioned a little bit about me, I thought I would go a little bit more into my backstory, exactly how I got here to be talking to you all tonight. And then we'd really make this a very practical conversation so that you can all walk away feeling, as Claire was mentioning, empowered and inspired to take action. Because obviously, the name Vets for Climate Action, we all want to be able to learn lots about sustainability, but put that into practice straight away. Because yes, it's great to absorb information, but the best thing that we can do is to do something about it. If you do have any questions throughout, there will be time at the end to answer them all. So please pop them in the chat. If something's relevant then and there, then I can answer it, but I'll get to most of them at the end. So a little bit about me. I am the founder of Banish, which is an education platform that teaches Australians how to live more sustainably. But I haven't always lived sustainably. It wasn't until probably about 7 years ago that I actually decided to make a sustainable change and a sustainable choice. It was back in the time when plastic bags were still available in supermarkets, and we were just starting to see those scary news headlines, things like there'll be more plastic than fish in the sea by 2050, or the seabirds that have got plastics in their stomach, or the turtles with straws up their noses. I was reading all of these doom and these gloomy articles and these news headlines and feeling really overwhelmed with the state of the planet and the earth. But there wasn't any information then about what you could do about it. They would just tell you the problem, but they wouldn't actually tell you the solution. So I sat down at the start of the year to write a very, very long list of New Year's resolutions, as I think so many people often do. Some of my other New Year's resolutions were to do things like become fluent in Spanish or run a half marathon and do all of these things. But one of them was just to do better when it came to the planet. I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I knew that I could be doing more than I currently was doing. And my first sustainable switch actually started with a single use plastic straw. I was about to have a smoothie at home, and in that smoothie at home, I was going to put in a single use plastic straw. And I kind of went, well, I know I can put two and two together, but this isn't a good thing for the planet. I can look at this and kind of go, yes, I know that I probably shouldn't be consuming this. So I just typed into Google best sustainable straw. It's a pretty simple Google search, and you'd think that it would be a pretty simple solution that would come back. But hundreds of thousands of Google responses came back through the search. There was wheat straw, pasta straws, stainless steel straws, silicone straws, bamboo straws, all of these different straws. And I honestly just wanted somebody to turn around and say, look, Lottie, this is the best straw for you. And nobody was doing that. So I was working as a journalist at the time. So I enjoyed doing research, fortunately. So I did all of the look and the research into the best sustainable straws, looking at life cycle assessments, all of these different things that the everyday person wouldn't do. I eventually decided to purchase a set of stainless steel straws from an organization which I thought was doing the right thing for the planet. And a couple of days later, they arrived in the mail. I bought a set of five, individually wrapped in single use plastics. And I think for me, it was this really big turning point of going, well, I've just wasted hours researching and doing what I thought was the right thing for the planet just to be completely led up the garden path, or what we would now call be greenwashed. But rather than kind of sit in this despair or this overwhelm, I saw an opportunity to teach people how to live more sustainably. And because I was doing the work anyway, I was researching and I was Googling and I was trying to figure everything out. And when I was making sustainable switches, say, for example, moving away from, I don't know, paper towels, I would find amazing people who were hand sewing their own reusable paper towels from flannel, but they didn't know how to market themselves to large audiences. So that was when I decided to create Banish as a marketplace that would help teach Australians how to live more sustainably. So it was kind of documenting my journey on living sustainably, but also connecting people with different Australian brands and businesses who were doing the right thing for the planet. So Banish launched in 2019 as a way to do just that, to teach people, to make it accessible, to connect people with brands and businesses that were doing the right thing. We were one of the first marketplaces in Australia to specialize in sustainable products, most of which were female founded brands, which was really amazing. It was a great opportunity for me to reach new audiences, to teach people, because I feel like with sustainability, it often gets this all or nothing approach. It's kind of like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, why would I even try? And I felt like so many people were approaching their sustainable living that way and kind of going, well, there's no actual point in me doing this because I'm not going to be able to make a change. I'm not going to be able to get rid of every single piece of plastic in my life. So Banish is kind of like that friendly person. We're there when you're on your journey to start living more sustainably, to hold your hand through the ups and downs, because it can be quite isolating. It can feel lonely and it can feel very, very overwhelming. But that was what led me to launch Banish in 2020. As Claire mentioned, I delivered a TEDx talk, which was titled The Power of Community in Fighting Climate Change. I was, I am still very much a big believer in the collective impact that individuals can have on their planet. Yes, we can wait around for governments and large organizations to make changes, and that's what we definitely need. But while we're waiting, we can also do a lot about it. Throughout my journey of running Banish as a education platform and also an e-commerce platform, I wanted a way for us to give back to the Banish community. And there's so many different ways that you can do that. You can plant a tree for every order, or you can donate a percentage of profits, or you could carbon offset. All of these things are great, but I really wanted something that came back to that core education pillar that we had. And as an individual who'd been on this journey for a couple of years, I was frustrated because at the end of the month, I was still having to throw things into my landfill bin. And when I would look at these things like pill packets or plastic bread tags or soy sauce fishies, I could see the resources in these items. When you look at something like a blister pack, you can see the aluminium and the clear plastic. So I was going, well, why can't I recycle this item? Why why can't I pull apart that and actually get it recycled in onshore in Australia? So what I did again was more research, and I started Googling and looking on different forums and things like that. And eventually I was able to find Australian micro recyclers who could recycle these items. But when I emailed the big blister pack people and said, hey, can I recycle my blister packs with you? They just laughed at me and they said, we won't take your 3 pill packets, but come back to us when you have 100 kilos of blister packs. Now, a blister pack weighs about 4 grams. So you can imagine how many blister packs are in 100 kilos of blister packs. But I just wrote it down. I contacted the next micro recycler who'd say, okay, we won't take your 4 bread tags, but if you get 2,000, we can turn them into a bowl. So I was having all of these different conversations with people and I was writing everything down. And then I thought, well, why not use the collective movement of individuals to get enough of these resources? So I put the call out online and I said to the Banish community, I said, send me your hard to recycle items in the mail. We'll then pull together the resources, and when we have enough of them, we'll be able to recycle them with different Australian micro recyclers. It's a very, very strange concept to ask people to do this, and I wasn't really entirely sure it was going to work. I asked my roommates if it was okay, because I was living with roommates at the time, if I could start a recycling program in our backyard. And they both just laughed at me and went, you're absolutely ridiculous, but sure, why not? Please just don't give our address out online. It's like, that's fair enough. That's okay. So I set up a local parcel locker with my Australia Post, and I said to people, here's the address, send us your recycling. I didn't really think that it was going to work. I didn't really think that people would send me their hard to recycle items and pay to send them to be recycled. And in the first month, we received 3 shoeboxes from around Australia. They're from people that weren't my mum or my auntie. And I was pretty excited. I kind of patted myself on the back and went, you know what? It'll be a while till we get those 100 kilos of blister packs, but that's all right. In month 2, we received 60 shoeboxes, which showed that there was a very quick adoption to Brad. A lot of people wanted to send us their hard to recycle items, and quite quickly, things started getting out of hand. My local Australia Post started calling me every second day saying, Lottie, you're going to have to come round and pick up all of these parcels that are arriving because we can't accept anybody's e-commerce shopping deliveries right now. And I just kept on waiting for this to slow down, for people to not send in their recycling anymore for them to, I don't know, for us to reach the limit of the number of Australians that wanted to participate in this. But the thing is, the boxes just kept on going. I was documenting everything online and showing everybody what was happening. And I would set everything up on a weekend and I would sort through all of the different boxes and put the blister pack somewhere and the toothpaste tube somewhere else, the coffee cup somewhere else. And they just kept on coming. It was quite quickly taking over my weekends, and I was really struggling with the number of boxes that we were receiving. And I had complete strangers reaching out online saying, "Hey, Lottie, I'll come over on the weekend and I'll help you sort through other people's recycling in your backyard." This was a lovely sentiment, but my roommates were like, "Please don't give out our address online. This is just so bizarre." Meanwhile, the laundry had been taken over, the living room was starting to be taken over by all of these different boxes that were arriving. So, quite quickly, I ended up having to say yes to these amazing individuals that were putting their hand up online. And we quite literally would have sorting sessions in my backyard. Once I realized that this wasn't going away anytime soon, we moved into a self-storage unit. And then the boxes just kept on coming and kept on coming. We then started sorting through all of the different boxes in the fire escape instead of my backyard. Again, just getting to those really, really large volumes. No one was believing me when I said that people were sending us these items in the mail and the volumes that we were getting, until I would quite literally drop the hundreds of kilos of blister packs at their doorstep. It was at the end of 2023 that I was very fortunate to be named the New South Wales Young Australian of the Year. What this allowed me to do was to have some really big conversations with some really powerful people. It gave the program credibility. It gave us more publicity so that more people found out about exactly what we were doing. And it's allowed us to really expand the work that we're doing. We opened up Sydney's first sustainability hub at Central Station, where we started processing the plastics on site. So now we do things like turn the bottle top lids into pens or coasters or the laptop stand that I'm using. We are able to recycle so much more than we ever have before. We've just hit 2.8 million blister packs recycled through the program. We were the first in Australia to start recycling blister packs, which has started a national movement where we're now starting to see a lot more organizations now start offering blister pack recycling, which is really, really exciting. And we also have been able to expand our community volunteering sessions and also our school and kids workshops. So now our volunteering sessions can be up to 15 people. We run 2 to 3 of them a week, and they quite quickly will actually book out. It's amazing to see what the collective impact of a group of individuals can have on the planet. In the last 12 months, we've been able to recycle 46,000 pieces of beauty packaging, over 750,000 blister packs, and a whole lot of things have all been kept out of landfill. We're almost up to 32 tons of waste that have been diverted through the program. And it's just a really great example of how together we can really make an impact and make a change. Now, I know that that is a lot of talking about me, but I think it helps give you a bit of a background on kind of the meanders of the journey that I've been on. It's never linear, it's never straightforward. And I think all of you running your own practices or being a vet nurse or whatever your role is, you can understand that with sustainability, it would be lovely if it was a tick box and we could just say, tick done, moving on to the next one, tick done, moving on to the next one. But the biggest thing with sustainability is that it is a journey. It is not a destination. And even though you think you can be a sustainable organization, it's about constantly improving and constantly moving and progressing. Banish has been a certified B Corporation for the past 3 years. We've just recertified. We're looking into other certifications as well, because for me, that is a way for us to prove that we've got third parties saying, yes, we are sustainable and doing the right thing for the planet. But a little bit of the research. So, research actually shows that sustainability is a motherlode of organizational and technological innovations that yield both bottom line and top line returns. It's not only a nice to have, it's now a must have in business. It's a great way to acquire new staff, to acquire customers, to just in general set up a business that is going to be better for you and also better for the planet as well. And then the other statistic is that 58% of consumers consider a company's environmental impact before buying or signing up to a service. It's something that people really look for, and it's a big differentiator we see when people are kind of comparing two different organizations or services. If one is more sustainable than the other, then they are more likely to choose that one as well. So, a couple of different things to think of when it comes to sustainability is obviously greenwashing. It's a huge one, and it is something that I, as a sustainability expert, still do get caught up in greenwashing because even though you have the best of intentions, I feel like when brands and organizations now know that individuals want to do the right thing for the planet, they prey on this want and desire and they market to you. So you think you're doing the right thing for the planet, where in actual fact, you've probably just been caught by a big marketing scam. There is no nice way about it. Yes, you can take something back to the store if you get caught by greenwashing, but often you get caught when it's too late in this big booby trap. So, yes, my biggest piece of advice is to avoid where you can. Often that comes down to doing research and not making rash decisions. But it is also, I think, about acknowledging that if you do get caught by greenwashing, you're not going to just fall off the wagon. You need to get back on and keep on going. So if we look at, and I've lost my presentation. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. There we go. So, when it comes to different marketing slang and jargon, we can look at things like clean. If you see any kind of product that has the terminology clean on it, it doesn't actually mean anything when it comes to the planet. Clean could mean a cleaning product, but that's really about it. There's no green tick of approval in Australia. There is no gold standard when it comes to sustainability. So that's why you see brands using marketing terms like clean, natural, eco, earth friendly. All of these brands don't actually, or terms, they don't actually have any gravitas behind them. That's why when I see terms like eco and clean or green or natural or whatever it is, I just have like a little red flag that goes up going, but how? Tell me how. Say, for example, with the term natural, you guys know more about science than I do, but every single atom and molecule was at one point naturally derived, even if it was a chemical. So that's why when somebody says that this item is made from 100% naturally derived ingredients, I'm going, yeah, but isn't everything made from naturally derived ingredients? It's another term that I really, really would like you to be wary of. Say, for example, I'm sorry to pick on you, Claire, but you could decide to start your own cleaning product tomorrow. You could call it, I don't know, Claire's Mean and Green cleaning product. You could say that it's naturally derived and earth friendly, and then pour into that 100% bleach and put it on the shelves. The chances of the big companies and the ACCC coming after you as a small business, very, very small. But we could all get caught in your absolute marketing booby trap and be greenwashed too for a very, very long time. Because we don't have this regulation in Australia, it makes it very, very difficult to know if you're doing the right choice. It's why I always like to do my research. I like to look at the back of ingredients lists. I like to look for certifications, things like B Corp certification, things like Australian Certified Organic. They could be If you're buying any kind of clothes, it could be the GOTS certification. There are so many different certifications that mean that a company has to be audited by a third party in order to reach this. Another really good one could be Cruelty Free International. So many different certifications, but they're really great and good ones to look out for, and I would definitely recommend it. When it comes to different products, and I don't know if you're producing that many products, but making to order is the best way to do things. If you've ever looked to purchase large quantities of products, there is always an MOQ or a minimum order quantity. This can often be really, really large. Not only is this really, really expensive for you as an organization, but it's also very, very risky, and it often means that there probably is going to be some waste at the end if you can't sell through that, for example. A really, really great organization that takes excess fashion stock from the retail industry is an organization and a charity called Thread Together. They actually take surplus clothing that is brand new and they give it to people in need. So people who are fleeing a flood affected region, or I don't know, are just out of prison or are an immigrant to Australia. And they will give people in need brand new clothing. It's a really great example of looking at it at business differently and saying, well, we've got a problem with the industry. How do we then solve this other problem with it, which is people not having access to good quality clothing? Business minimalism is a real thing. It's really easy to kind of get caught up in absolutely everything and wanting to be a master of all, but it actually doesn't help you that much and it doesn't help the planet either. Being a business minimalist is the best thing that you can do. By decluttering and focusing on just a few services or just a few small things, it is going to be a lot better for not only you, but also the planet as well. So this could mean looking at the way that you're fitting out your waiting rooms. This could be the way that you're looking at your offerings. Do you need to have a pamphlet for absolutely everything on a wall, or could it be something that people sign up to different, I don't know, if they've got a cat, maybe they sign up to the cats program, or maybe they sign up to a dog program. There's lots of different things that you can do that help streamline your organization so that rather than trying to cater for everybody, rather than printing off 20 different pamphlets for people for, I don't know, an issue that you've seen once in one time, it's going to help your organization and your business by just doing small things. A lot of these things I'm talking about, they're not innovative, they're not nothing new. They're probably things that you already know, but what they are going to be able to do is hopefully be a refresher for you and a reminder that together all of these small steps will make a really big impact. When it comes to procurement, so looking at who you're getting your different supplies from, it's about just doing that extra level of due diligence, asking the difficult or the uncomfortable questions, talking to them about packaging. Do you like the way that everything comes wrapped in single-use plastic? Is there a way that you can mention that you'd prefer if it didn't? Or if something is coming with boxes, individually wrapped in boxes, can you say, oh, next time, can I give you those boxes back so you can actually reuse them? It's all of these things which might seem small, actually do make a really big impact in the long run. And a big one that has worked for us has been partnerships. So, how working together with other small businesses, we've been able to expand our impact and also been able to help us scale and grow. So, say, for example, for us as an e commerce platform, packaging is a really big issue for us. So, for example, with us, it's buying in bulk packaging that we can then split and share across multiple different organizations, which means that we can then help get those larger order volumes, which is then going to be cheaper for us, but it also gives us a bit more sway with the different organizations that we're going to. And we can kind of say, hey, we're four different organizations. This is what our total order is going to be, and this is what we expect from you. The impact that it's had and the ability has been so great for us. And it's been a great way as well to connect with other businesses and organizations. It's a great thing that you're all a part of Vets for Climate Action because you've already got a network of people who are striving for the same things as yourself. I think in business, especially when you're in impact, it's not about competition, it's about working together. I know as a group of Australian micro recyclers, everybody is so great at sharing knowledge, sharing key contacts, sharing struggles and challenges that you've been having, and the learnings that you can have. If you think about any large challenges that you've faced in your clinics, you can think about how difficult it has been and how long it took to overcome that challenge. Imagine if you had somebody else who'd already been through it and was able to say, oh, I would do this, or I wouldn't do this next time, or here's what I would do, how much time that would save. I think we need to think about business as working together for good, not against one another. And I think that's the biggest thing is how can you do that through the partnerships? If you're an expert in one area, how could you then lend your expertise to a different area so that then that other clinic might have some key learnings and key things that they can help you with? I think that's a really big one that I would be focusing on personally if I was just starting out on this journey as well. Obviously, from a business cost perspective, there's things like looking at energy efficient light bulbs and fittings, switching to a green energy source. Could be looking at things like the different appliances and the white goods you're using. The next time you need to purchase new white goods or different machinery, can you look at something that's more energy efficient? Can you be looking at lights that turn off automatically at a certain time or are only activated when somebody walks past them? All of these things are really small and they may seem insignificant, but they do add up and make a big difference in the long run. It could be something as simple as changing the nozzle on a hose to be something that is more efficient, and that is going to help you save money. There are a lot of things that you can do, obviously, when you're building or when you're starting out and fitting out somewhere for the first time, but it could be looking at what you've already got too. The last thing that I want anybody to do when they kind of hear me talk or anything like that is to go home and throw out every single piece of plastic that they've got in their house or get rid of everything. It's about using what you've already got and repairing it and using it until you can't use it anymore. That is the best purchase that you can make is by using something that you've already got right now and keeping it in circulation for as long as possible. When it comes to choosing certifications, there are so many different certifications out there. It's really easy to get caught up in all of them. And a couple of questions that I ask me myself when I'm looking at a different certification is, what is the ultimate cost of this? And that's including my time of getting the certification, but also, is there an annual fee involved? Do I need to pay for the number of staff that I have? And also, what is the benefit to this? Is this going to help me unlock new revenue? Is it going to help me reach new audiences and people that I haven't been able to speak to before? Because ultimately, does my customer know what this certification means? And is that something that they're looking for? Or is it something that's really great to acquire new staff and new talent and new suppliers? Because then that could be another benefit. And also, what processes do you need to change to meet these certification requirements? When we looked at doing B Corp certification a number of years ago, there are so many different things that you need to be doing as an organization. It was quite daunting and overwhelming, but it actually gave us a really great framework as we were growing to look back and kind of go, okay, we're not ready yet, but if we are planning and building out an ethical sourcing policy, we should make it one that is in line with this because that's going to be easier for us moving forward. I've obviously already mentioned packaging. It's a big one in e-commerce, not so much for you guys. So I might just gloss over that one a little bit. And then travel. I'm not sure how many of you are traveling a lot. The best thing about the pandemic was Zoom and virtual meetings, like what we're doing now, because you're not having to spend, oh, sorry, spend lots of carbon emissions traveling, and it's going to cut a lot of costs, including your time as well. But it could also be just chatting to your staff about how they could green up their daily commute. Could it be carpooling with one another or offering a great shower facility so people feel like they could ride their bike to work? It's also looking at reducing your consumption when you're out on the road. Can you do things like use reusable water bottles, your reusable coffee cups? Again, all of these things that we used to be really good at doing, we just need those little reminders that we need to fall back into those practices. A phone call can so many times be in situ of a meeting. It is my favorite thing to do is just get on the phone with somebody, have a quick call, and then it's done. You've saved time, but also you've saved all of that travel that you needed to do getting to the other person. And then we obviously have your waste disposal. Now, ultimately, no matter where you are in Australia, it's going to be different. A lot of businesses have to pay for their own waste disposal, which means that generally speaking, you're a lot more conscious about them because you understand the cents and the dollars going in the bin. Landfill is more expensive than a lot of your recycling programs, like your commingled plastics and things like that. But the best thing that you can be doing isn't to recycle more, it's just to use less stuff. That is ultimately the best thing that we can be doing. But obviously, reuse is a huge, huge, big one, offering excess to other businesses. I know that within the precinct that we work in, we're able to share so many different things. We don't get any milk crates, but we love using them for our educational events. So then that's where the local cafe helps give us some of theirs. It's all of those little different things, they make a big difference. Soft plastic recycling is coming back definitely across New South Wales. We're seeing the ability to now recycle again soft plastics that are smaller than an A3 sheet. Um, Composting is another one that is coming to New South Wales with businesses having to offer food and organics for recycling by the end of this year. So that's another one that you're going to need to look into is that organics stream. But again, utilizing these composting facilities is a really great way to increase your amount of waste or decrease the amount of waste going to landfill and also decrease your waste costs too because you're not having to pay those landfill levies. There are programs like Brad, of course, that help close the gap when you have your waste diversion strategy. So, say, for example, you wanted to recycle 60% of your waste by the end of the year. Brad is a great way to get you from 52 to 58% of that waste. I could talk about waste for pretty much this whole time, and I think it would probably bore absolutely everybody. But there are so many different ways that you could think about using the things that you've already got in the office. Is there a way that you can use shredded paper as part of the kitty litter? Are there different things that you can be utilizing without me coming into every single vet clinic around Australia and doing a full waste audit? I'm sure you've got a lot of specific issues that you're dealing with. So I might let people pop in the chat and I can offer some different examples to that one there. Excuse me. So that is pretty much it for the presentation. I've left a lot of time for questions for you all. So please pop them in the chat. If you do want to find out more about Banish or Brad, please look us up on socials or also on the website too.
Amazing, Lottie. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm so full of valuable information after that. It's actually ridiculous. I know the first thing I'm going to do is go and look at all my natural products because that is actually, to be honest with you, what I do look for when I'm in the store in the supermarket, when I'm buying things like shampoo and conditioner and, cleansers and things like that. They've they're the ones that I'm drawn to, and to know that, to your point, everything is derived naturally at some point, but what's in it now is a completely different story. I think Tanya also commented she can't stand greenwashing, but the general public do not understand what greenwashing is. Do you have any advice on how to spark that conversation with someone and make it an easy thing for them to understand?
Yeah, I feel like greenwashing is something that we're starting to see come up a little bit more because of crackdowns with the ACCC. I'm just choking. Hold on.
Oh no.
So, say, for example, you might have seen that Glad, the company, were done the other day for greenwashing because pretty much they said that on the front of their like garbage bags that they were made from ocean derived plastics. And everyone was like, well, what does ocean derived plastic mean? But yes, I'll help them. I will support them. And pretty much it was just meant that it was collected from organizations or businesses that lived within a 60-kilometer radius of the ocean. And that was what they had called ocean derived. So it was a really good example of a company getting caught. And we saw it a lot in the news headlines. But I think it's this thing that people don't know what to look for. And they probably don't even understand when they have been greenwashed. So it's a really difficult one. So it's one that kind of we lean on with Banish is about education and trying to make it easy for people so that they don't ultimately get greenwashed. But it's really difficult because I still get greenwashed. So you can't really tell people that they're never going to be greenwashed again. And I think that's the hardest part about it is because people want to do the right thing. And especially if they're spending their money, to then be told that they've just been completely led up the garden path is really, really hard.
Absolutely. I think it, yeah, puts more responsibility on us to follow through with people's promises and, advertising and marketing concepts and things like that as well. So I think that,
Exactly.
yeah. And Tanya has another question. Um, Let me just grab it.
Okay, I'm
Tanya,
just reading it.
oh, you can read it. Yeah. I'll just find a big one. I'll just read it out for those that can't see the chat. But Tanya has just said that she'd just like to say how inspiring it is to hear Lottie speak, and that Lottie's work with Banish in the Brad program is such a powerful example of what's possible when purpose and action come together. And the fact that people were sending Lottie blister packs from day one really shows the trust that she built so early on. Tanya goes on to say, as a vet, I've spent years helping cats and their families in the clinic, but I created Best Fur Forward to take that impact further. Tanya's goal is to empower cat owners across Australia and hopefully the world to make better, more sustainable choices, starting with something as overlooked as cat litter. Tanya has done the research, lab testing, and made sure that there's no greenwashing. Even Tanya's packaging is certified home compostable, and long term would like this brand to help support rescues and foster families, making sustainable care more accessible where it's needed most. Tanya would love to know, how did you build such a deeply engaged audience from the very beginning, and what is your top advice for a SM? I'm sorry, Tanya, I
I
don't
think
know what.
that is that social media or small business? Social media? Small business.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think I was lip reading then. No, that's amazing. Firstly, congratulations. That is a huge feat. And I know it is incredibly time consuming and it takes so much effort and so much research and so much money to get to where you have already. So, congratulations on that. I think for me, my biggest thing with Banish obviously is education. That's something that I feel extremely passionately about, and it's about showing up. I have been very, very active on social media. That's what I thought maybe your question was about social media. Pretty much from day one, before we even really launched the website, I was talking about it on social media and was getting information and feedback from people. And still to this day, we launched a brand new product this morning on social media. Was the first thing we're saying, which color's your favorite? And then when people were voting for their favorite color, we're making more of that color so that we knew that that would be the ones that was going to be the most available for us. I think social media is such an amazing tool to be able to connect with people, to share your story authentically in a very, very low cost way as well, because you can really be vulnerable. You can show the highs and the lows. And I think what people ultimately want from a brand these days is to understand what they're going through, to understand and feel heard and be a part of a community. And I think that's something that we focus really heavily on at Banish is about bringing people along on that journey. I actually get the most engagement when we do stories about how I failed. When I get caught with greenwashing, that is when the DMs blow up with people saying, "Oh my gosh, me too," or "All right, have you tried this?" or "Don't worry about it, you'll be fine." When I post something that's all sunflowers and daisies and amazing, yes, people are like, "Cool, that's great," but they don't really engage with it as much. And I think for me, being a very active female founder on the platform has also been really helpful because people feel like they can relate more to the brand. It was kind of like this Zoom conversation. If I didn't show my face and just had a big L on the screen, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed the presentation as much because you wouldn't have understood what I was going through. You wouldn't have probably been able to relate to me as much. So my biggest advice for people is to, I think these days people want a story to really get them on board. I loved reading the paragraph that you wrote then about the highs and the lows, how you have been a vet, how you've been helping so many cats for so long and the different families. That's a kind of storytelling that I think would resonate with so many people rather than just seeing I don't know, a compostable kitty litter on the shelf. If you were able to take people on the journey of why, what does this problem exist? Do cat owners know that this problem exists? Because I think so many times with sustainability, people don't actually understand the problem until you point it out to them. It's like with single use coffee cups. If I say to people, did you know that that single use coffee cup isn't actually recyclable? People still go, oh, no, I didn't realize that. And it's that repetitiveness of saying it over and over again. I thought by now the number of times I've said that everybody in Australia would know, but they still don't. But I think it's about creating a space where people feel like they can learn from you, that they can ask questions from you, but they can also trust you as well. So I think that's my biggest thing when it comes to building a brand these days is that people want to not fall in love with you, but they want to be heard and they want to find their community. And I think that's what an amazing brand like Best Fur Forward could do is you're really people's cats are their best friends, also dogs as well. But that's such a really important thing and they want to do the right thing for them as well. So I think that would be something that I would definitely be leaning on if I was starting out with a brand for the first time as well. But also, it's that education. So for me, it would be educating them on the fact that a lot of kitty litter isn't able to be, I don't know, composted or recycled or it's made from nasty things. But then also telling them the why behind why you decided to fix this problem, your expertise in the area, and then build it that way is what I would try and do.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Lottie.
Just
Sorry?
no worries. I was just looking at Rebecca's
Yes.
question. Brad can be sent in from around Australia. We get parcels from Tasmania, the Northern Territory. We got some from Magnetic Island, here, there, and everywhere.
That's great. Here we go. So yeah, as Lottie said, feel free to send it in, shoeboxes and all. Rebecca says thanks there.
We'll take anything, any kind of box you've got at home is the main aim of the game.
I think one question I have, Lottie, if I think you've given us so many practical tips, what's one thing that you can speak personally that has, continuously motivated you to keep going, even when it does seem easy to just grab that takeaway coffee cup, when you're out and you've forgotten your keep cup and things like that. What's one thing you'd like to say to people for that?
Um, I think for me, I don't use single-use coffee cups. That's just a
Yeah.
rule that I made with myself. And now, even if I've got time to wait in line for a coffee, I've normally got time to drink a coffee in the coffee shop. So that's
Mm.
my rule there. But I think for me, it just comes down to slowing down. The times that I get caught out by greenwashing or that I end up consuming plastics is normally when I'm not organized or I'm at a pinch or I'm making a last minute decision and I'm quickly grabbing something. And that's often when I get caught out. So for me, it's trying to be a bit more organized so that I do things like remembering my lunch from home so I'm not got any food waste and things like that.
Mm. Amazing. Thank you. And Lottie, I know you haven't spoken about it tonight, but you have written a book. Did you want to touch on that quickly for us, and let us know what inspired you to write that book?
Yes. So the book is called 365 Plus Ways to Save Your Money and the Planet at the Same Time. A little bit of a tongue twister there, but I wrote it because I was having so many conversations with people about living sustainably. And one of the biggest things was that people were saying to me, it's just too expensive. I would love to live more sustainably, but it costs too much money. And for me, my experience was it saves you so much money. There is so much that you can save, not only the planet, but also your money, just by doing things like using up what you've already got at home, by mending and repairing things, by eating all of the food in your crisper, for example. So I wrote a book as a guide for people, as that kind of resource or that best friend, so that they could learn all of the different ways, and you don't have to implement all 365 ways, but you can implement a couple of ways and really see the impact that it makes this month, and then maybe in a couple of months time make a couple more ways. So that was what inspired me to write the book. It's been out now for 3 months, which is really exciting. It's been a bit of a whirlwind getting out there and doing lots of different book events and things like that, but it's just been lovely to meet more people, connect with them, and hear their stories as well.
Real congratulations on that, Lottie. And Lottie's popped that in the chat as well, so feel free to grab that. And yeah, did anyone else have any questions for Lottie? Let me just flick through that. Tanya,
Oh, Tanya's got another question.
yes. Says, what do you think of bioplastics and their place in the sustainability journey globally?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I don't think no two bioplastics are created the same, unfortunately. So it's a really hard one to answer. Ultimately, with bioplastics, if we're thinking about things like our coffee cups, for example, that might say that they used to be plants, in order to recycle these, it's really, really difficult to recycle them. Or, say, for example, it could be poo bags that say that dog poo bags that say that they're bioplastics. They will eventually break down in comparison to plastics might take 400 years to break down. A bioplastic might take 100 years to break down. And the quality or the material that it breaks down into isn't actually that amazing. So, say, for example, in a lot of the food and organics bins across Australia, you used to be able to put I don't know, the bio cups in there. You used to be able to put in the dog poo bag, or not the poo themselves, but just the bags. And unfortunately, because what was happening is ultimately when your organics stream goes to an organic composting facility, you need lots of nutrients in there because you want to create a really, really great compost or an organic fertilizer. So that's why you want banana peels and apple cores and I don't know, the odd ends of carrots, because then you get this really nutrient rich fertilizer. But the thing is, if that's just filled with a 85% bioplastics, the actual result of that is not going to be a nutrient rich compost or fertilizer. It's going to be void of all of these amazing nutrients that we need. So that's why we've actually seen a lot of these organizations and bins saying you can't actually put these bioplastics in there anymore. If something is home compostable, so it has the home compostable certification on it, that is great because it means that it can break down in the right temperatures in a relatively quick way. Whereas if something is industrial composted, yes, it still means that it can break down, which is great. But in order for something to be industrial composted, it needs to get to these facilities. And right now, it's very difficult for things to get to these facilities, which is a really difficult struggle. but hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll start to see more facilities opening up that can handle the processing of these different materials.
And I think that just answered Caitlin. Correct me if I'm wrong. Caitlin's
Yeah, I
question,
just kind
which
of
is,
threw in
yeah.
Caitlin's there.
Yeah, and Caitlin's question, just for those that can't see the chat, was if products say home compostable, is that okay? And Lottie has answered that for us. So great question, Caitlin. Great answering, Lottie, popping that in there. Um, did anyone else have any other questions for Lottie? Um, so Tanya's just commented again. That's great, Tanya. Um, Well, if nobody else has any questions, I would just like to extend a ginormous thank you, Lottie. I personally have learned so much from tonight's masterclass, and I know that everyone here would be able to attest to that as well. And I'm sure everyone that has registered for this to watch at a later date will absolutely be in touch to say how amazing and informative that was. And I'm sure everyone is going to go and check the products that they have around their home and really make that extra effort to, as you said, use everything to its end completely, and then recycle it properly. So thank you so much, Lottie, and thank you for everyone
No,
else
thanks so
that
much for having
attended
me.
this. Was really, really informative and good. So, I'd just like to thank everyone else that attended this. And as I mentioned before, we have our brand new membership program available. So, feel free to join today and connect with others that are passionate about protecting animal health through climate action and become part of our movement driving real change. But Lottie, once again, thank you so much. And to everyone else, feel free to thank Lottie as well. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.